outside and park your cars in a distant parking spot in the lot and run to the building as fast as you could, right? I want to welcome you all here, and I'm really glad and pleased to see that you came out. And I also want to welcome all the folks that are online watching us on Adobe Connect, who are probably much warmer than you are now. We have a great information session for you, and I want to share some information about executive programs, our executive MBA and executive MA programs with you, and give you an opportunity to answer a lot of questions. I'm also joined by some great panelists here who are experts in this area, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and tell me their name, their relationship in the program, and their current title and role, what they do. I'm going to start with the lovely person closest to me.
Okay. My name is Chris Bullen. I just finished the MA Leadership program. I am a inspector with York Regional Police. It's something that, in terms of leadership, it's near and dear to me. I've been in policing for over 25 years, and it's something that when I started the program, I was really intrigued. And I think the key word was the journey. The journey was absolutely wonderful, and we'll share more about that later on. I have had my BA here at Guelph, Carleton University, and it's something that I would encourage. I'm a huge believer in terms of post-secondary education and in terms of trying to hone that leadership skill in any which way that you can.
Great, thanks, Chris. Dan.
Hi, my name is Dan Carley, and I'm a graduate of the MBA program with Food and Agribusiness Specialization. I graduated now in 2011. It was a great experience for sure. We'll talk a lot about the things I learned about going through the program, the residential weeks and the online component. It was quite a good learning experience and quite an opportunity to network with different people in my field across North America and the world. And my current position now, I'm a professor at Humber College, just across the bridge, as they say, on the other side. So, welcome.
Great. Court, will you speak louder as well?
Folks
online can't quite hear
can't
you.
see or hear you.
Patty's trying to gently remind me to ask you to speak louder.
Thank you.
And I can't hear her.
Okay, how's this?
That's good.
All right. My name is Court Egan, and I'm a current student in the MA Leadership program. So even though I'm a student, I still have time to go out in an evening and talk about the program. So I'm done the coursework now. I'm just working on my major research project. I work at the University of Guelph. I'm the assistant director in charge of communications and evaluation for the chief information officer and chief librarian. I also have a master's degree in rhetoric from the University of Waterloo. And this has been a great learning experience. I did the leadership program really to be a better manager and a better leader, and as a result I also became a much better follower, which is another side that you don't really think about in leadership. But as much as you're leading your team, there's always someone above you that's leading you, and you need to be able to follow their lead, and you learn both sides of that. So it's a great program, and I look forward to getting to know all of you a little better tonight.
Thanks, Court.
Do you want me to do my background now, or?
Well, briefly, because it's quite spectacular, but yes, give us a brief background.
Okay, so my name is Angelo Caravaggio. I'm an instructor in the MA Leadership program. A little bit about my background: 34 years in the Canadian Forces. I retired as a lieutenant colonel. My last job in the Canadian Forces, I was the chair of the Department of Command and Leadership and Executive Development. So my job was to build and deliver the leadership programs for the future generals of the Canadian Forces. I've been teaching in the program since 2007. Originally I started teaching first online course, now I teach the residential course. So if you come into the MA Leadership program, you'll see the course. And I have currently, one of the other jobs that I have, I'm the leadership advisor to the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police Education Training and Professionalism Committee.
Not bad. And he hasn't even closed to half yet. We'll also may be joined by Susan Cates a little later on, who is an MBA Hospitality and Tourism Management alumni. I know that she had another commitment, but she really wanted to participate as well tonight, so she may pop in a little bit later on and join the panel. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to give you an overview of the University of Guelph, as well as the executive programs, the MBA and the MA Leadership programs specifically. I want to provide you some information about each one of these programs, and I've got some questions. I've got some questions for the panel that I'm kind of interested in asking them, but I'm certain that you are also going to have some questions for them as well. And we're going to open up the floor and let you ask them some questions about what their experience was like in the program, what is teaching like in the program, and all that type of stuff. So we'll kind of move on through it. So first, I want to give you a little bit of an overview of the University of Guelph. The University of Guelph was established in 1964, and it's comprised of 7 colleges that span both the physical and the social sciences, the natural sciences, and the humanities. It has over 18,000 undergraduates and over 2,500 graduate students that study in over 90 different graduate programs. We have over 94,000 active alumni in over 145 countries around the world. We employ 840 full-time faculty and over 1,900 staff to support that faculty. University of Guelph's reputation for excellence reflects our award-winning faculty's dedication to both teaching and research, which is internationally recognized. Come on in and join us.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
That's okay. You might find the exam at the end of the period a little difficult, but that's okay. We're internationally recognized for both our teaching and our research. University of Guelph actually is one of the most research-intensive universities in Canada and is first among non-medical schools with over $158 million of external research funding a year. Now, more specifically, the programs that interest you this evening are all contained within the College of Business and Economics, of which I'm the Assistant Dean. This college was established in 2006, and the MBA program that some of you may be interested in is the second largest graduate program at the University of Guelph, with 61 students currently studying in 3 different streams: hotel, tourism management, food and agribusiness management, and sustainable commerce. The Masters in Leadership program is in fact the largest graduate program at the University of Guelph, with 112 students currently enrolled, and we have over 3,200 BCom students as well. So that's kind of an overview of the institution and the programs in general. But let me give you a little more specifics about the programs, both the MBA and the MA, and tell you a little bit about how we deliver those programs. The MBA Online program is an interesting hybrid format that allows you to do your graduate degree while keeping your job. That is a critical component to consider. You actually don't have to quit your job in order to complete your MBA. This innovative approach really includes an online coursework and 3 short residential periods during the program. Each online course is 8 weeks in length, and you take them one at a time. They typically require between 20 to 25 hours of study per week. The program, the MBA program, begins with an 11-day residential period that is held in Guelph. That is an opportunity for you to get to know your cohort, who you're going to be studying with, together through the entire program. Get involved with them, get tight with them, learn with them, and during that 11 days, you'll complete 2 graduate programs. The length of the program, there are 9 core courses in the MBA, 3 specialization courses that are specially designed for your particular stream, and you can complete the MBA by either doing an MRP, or what we call a major research project, or you complete the entire program with 2 additional courses. And I'll get into more specifics about that a little bit later on. But we have one cohort starting here now at the end of April with an application deadline by March 31st of this year. Now, the MA Leadership program has 3 entry points. There's one in May, one in September, and one in January. And we have 3 corresponding application deadlines for each one of those entry points that you can see listed on the slide. Like the MBA, the MA Leadership is also a 2-year commitment, and it's offered in the same hybrid approach. In other words, it has short residential stays. In this case, starts off with a 7-day residential stay, then a series of online courses, each one 8 weeks in length, taken one at a time, and then after a 1-year period, you come back for another 7-day residential stay to complete the residential period, and then 3 more courses, or 1 more course in a major research paper that you can complete. Again, it's about 20 to 25 hours approximately of study time per week. You complete each one of the courses one at a time, and you take approximately 8 courses with an MRP or 10 courses if you want to pass the degree by coursework. In terms of what you would study, should you choose, say, the MBA program, you would take these 9 core courses: Management Communications, Foundations of Leadership, Financial and Managerial Accounting, Research Methods for Managers, Financial Management, Foundations of Human Resource Management, Operations Management, Sustainable Value Creation, and Strategic Management. Those are the 9 core courses that comprise the MBA. With your specialization, should you specialize in food and agribusiness management, you would also take marketing strategy, food and agribusiness, economics and policy, managing price risk. In the hotel, hospitality and tourism management, you'll take marketing strategy, revenue management, managing service quality. And within sustainable commerce, you'd also take sustainable commerce marketing strategy, environmental management and governance, and business practices for sustainability. So you can see how those courses really try to hone in on your own specialty and your particular area of interest within the MBA. At the end of these courses, you can choose to either do a major research paper or project, or you can finish the degree by taking 2 additional courses that are listed here in the bottom: Organizational Theory and Design or Global Business Today. In the MA Leadership, there are 8 core courses. These include Foundations of Leadership, Theories of Leadership, Research Methods, the Role of Leader in Decision-Making, Ethics in Leadership, Personal Skills, Self-Assessment, Leadership of Organizational Change, and Politics of Organizations. Once you complete those 8 core courses, you can choose to complete your degree by either doing a major research paper, as I mentioned earlier, or finish off by doing 2 additional courses, either Readings in Leadership and Coaching and Developing Others. So, why would you want to consider an executive education program, and why would you want to consider one at the University of Guelph? And this is a question I'm going to be asking the panel a little bit later on, so they might want to sharpen their thinking now in advance of that question. Well, one, the curriculum is directly relevant to the work that you do. This is not a general MBA, it's not a general MA. It's focused on very specific job-relevant skills, knowledges, and abilities. If you are in the food and agribusiness area, this is an MBA targeted specifically to you. Or hospitality and tourism, or if sustainable commerce is of interest to you, this is targeted specifically to you. If you want to develop your leadership skills and advance your career as a leader, then the MBA Leadership is targeted directly to you. You get to study and keep your job, which is a really critical element, one that I didn't have as an advantage when I went to graduate school, but I'm not bitter about that, but that's okay. You are exposed to a broad multidisciplinary approach which will significantly enhance your learning and your ability to apply it. You study on your timetable. Because we offer online courses that are done over an 8-week period, you don't have to attend lectures on a Monday night. Or you can still attend online Monday night, but you might want to do that at 2 in the morning. You might want to do it at 6 in the morning when you get up. You attend that course when it works for your schedule during the week. You still have to put in 20 to 25 hours a week, but you determine when those 20 to 25 hours a week are expended. So that flexibility is really allowed to you, and you can take that course with you anywhere. As long as you have internet connection, you can study. You're going to gain substantial insights into your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and develop the skills that you need to achieve your career objectives. So that's why we believe that this particular executive program and how it's been designed is really useful for folks who are trying to keep their jobs and still advance their careers by taking on graduate education. So the question that you might all ask is, what's it cost? Nothing, really. No, we give it away. What does it cost? For the MBA, the fees are a program fee. This is true for both the MBA and the MA Leadership program. In other words, these fees include your books and materials as well as your residency stays at Guelph. So for the MBA, there's a $150 application fee, which is non-refundable. And for the online MBA program, for domestic students, it's $42,828. For international students, it's $48,699. It's payable installments over a 2-year period in Canadian funds and includes the tuition, course materials, as well as your residential stays. It just doesn't include your transportation costs to Guelph. For the MBA Leadership program, again, a total program fee. There's a $150 application fee, which is non-refundable. But the program fee for domestic students is $30,110. For international students, it's $34,695. Again, that is payable in installments over a 2-year program, over a 2-year period, and it's a program fee that includes all of your materials, your textbooks, and so forth. For admission requirements, what does it take to get into the program? For the MBA program, we look for a 4-year undergraduate degree with a minimum of a B- average, which is a 70 to 72, and 3 years of relevant career experience that demonstrates progression within your career. Or, if you do not have that 3-year experience, you may have to complete a GMAT if you are doing a direct entry from your undergraduate to a graduate program. Or, if you do not have a 4-year degree, you have a general degree, a diploma or professional designation, then 5 years of full-time industry relevant experience is required. For the MA, we require a 4-year undergraduate degree again with a minimum of B- average, 70 to 72, with 3 years of full-time industry-related progressive experience. Or if you have a general degree, a diploma, or professional designation, then 5 years of full-time industry-related progressive work experience is required. If you're interested in submitting an application, this is done online by referencing the University of Guelph's Office of Graduate Studies application website, and that's listed here on this slide. When applying, we do require official university transcripts in sealed envelopes from all post-secondary institutions that you've attended. We require 2 letters of reference from 2 referees who are familiar with either your academic performance or your professional experience to support your application. We also require a formal application letter, which is referred to as a statement of interest that's outlining your interests or reasons for wanting to enroll in the program, along with a current and up-to-date resume. So, that's a lot of information that I gave to you. There may be a number of questions that you have, and maybe I'll let you ask some questions before I ask any questions of the panel. You can ask questions of me, or you can ask questions of the panel, a mixture of students and alumni and a prof. But I'll open it up to the floor and see if you have any specific questions that you'd like to ask at this point. Yes.
You mentioned earlier, when we talked about the programs, that there were, you mentioned for people that are like in the food or agriculture type of industry. What about for other students like myself? Like, I'm not part of the food industry. Like, I come from a telecom background, and I was looking at the sustainable commerce program that you had. Is the program such as that designed for students that may not necessarily come from a food and agriculture?
That's right. So it's designed for those who are interested in doing business from a sustainable commerce perspective. That would be definitely relevant to a telecom. Yes?
You mentioned that there was a discussion of a major research project. When I was doing some research on the program, it mentioned that you could graduate by coursework or by thesis.
That's right.
Is the thesis the major research project?
That's correct. Yeah, we call it a major research project rather than a thesis.
Okay, and so a little bit more about that. Are you assigned a supervisor who's already doing research in the field, and then you're kind of working as their research assistant and writing your thesis paper? Or
No.
is it like you get to choose your own topic?
You get to choose your topic. So unlike maybe more traditional academic programs where what you just outlined would be the case, where you would be assigned someone and you're going to do their research, you come up with a topic that is most interesting to you. What I like about that is it actually gets you to customize your education specifically to your career and perhaps to your organization. So we've had folks perhaps from the policing sector do things that are relevant to policing and so forth. So it really allows you to kind of delve into something of interest to you.
Okay, and then, so I guess I just have a part B to that question. So I've been talking to some students that are either currently in the program or have already graduated from it, and they kind of mentioned that people who go with the research project route or the thesis route, some of them end up choosing that maybe it's not right for them, and so they end up deciding that they want to go back to the course route. What does that look like with graduating with your cohort if you decide that halfway through the major research project isn't what you thought it was going to be, or you weren't really interested in it?
Then we should have a discussion and figure out a route for you to take.
Okay, so there isn't kind of
Absolutely.
like
There's
a
always
flip
a discussion opportunity.
Okay.
How many
we capped the class size at 30. Yes?
The 5 years experience, does it have to be with alignment?
No,
Okay,
no. But as long as it's progressive, that's really what we're looking for.
okay.
Yes?
Another question. So you mentioned the duration of each course is approximately 8 weeks. Can you talk a bit more about, like, as far as accumulating marks? Because like a friend of mine took an MBA program where it's all online, and at the end of each course, it really came down to a single assignment that was worth like 100% of its total mark. Like, is that how it's based, or is it space where there are multiple assignments and like a midterm as an example throughout each course?
I'm going to put that to the panel, because I think that they would be excellent folks to actually address that question. Anyone on the panel like to comment on
Dan's
that?
ready.
Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. In my experience, no. You're right. Depending on the course, there was always either group assignments or individual assignments. I think about 4 or 5 different courses had an exam component. So your marks were spread out over the assessment was a number of different activities that you had to complete. So there was never one course where 100% was based on one project or one assignment.
And same for the MA in leadership. Same thing. All the particular courses that you took, it was broken down in terms of 20/20 class participation, being online and communicating with your particular group. So again, it made it, the marking scheme was much easier, and that's the why I prefer rather to have 100% at the end. That would be quite interesting.
Yeah, Angelo.
So for example, on my course, which is the first residential, you have two individual assignments. There's a group assignment and there's a participation mark.
Okay.
So there's no 100% there.
Yeah. Yeah, we consider single assignment courses to be unreliable.
Right. Right. And that was my colleague's feedback as well. Is that it's not a great way to learn.
No, I would agree. Sorry, go here and then.
You mentioned 20, 25 hours a week, roughly,
Yes.
in terms of class or online time.
Study.
Study time. So is there a requirement, because I know there's participation work, are there set days or times that you need to be working in a group, or you decide that as a group?
You would decide that as a group. So we consider the online component to be asynchronous. In other words, there are not specific times when you have to be online and present and doing things. You can do that at any time that fits your schedule. If you're doing group work, obviously that'd be by consensus of the group.
One of the advantages of the group work is you decide when to work with your group. So like we had people from BC and California and Ontario, so we decided we'd meet at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, whatever was convenient for everybody. And with technology, everybody met on Skype. And the other advantage is you spent a week with them at the residential component, living with them for 10 days basically. So you got to know them very well. So it really didn't feel like it was online. It just was natural the way it was, because you met them and you knew who they were and you had a beer with them at the end of the day sometimes. We do that a little bit, right?
I think the residential piece is key. It is key. You get to know the individuals, you get to know the people that you're working with in the group, and you basically work it around your time. So we had, for my particular cohort, we had times already scheduled. So we know Tuesday at this particular time we would meet. So you can be anywhere. You can be, like for myself, my kids played hockey, so I could be in the arena, or I can go to the library adjacent to the hockey and basically Skype in, and away you go. Half an hour, 20 minutes. We're trying not to be online for an hour, 2 hours. Going too much. So again, half an hour, you give out the assignment, boom, you go off on your own, you work, you come back the following week.
And how frequent was that every week? Roughly, from your experience?
We did it, again, it's 8 weeks, so we did it probably once a week.
Once a week?
As 20 minutes, as a group. 20 minutes. You go off on your own, you do whatever you needed to do, you come back and make sure, again, whatever that particular assignment was, you work on that assignment, and away you go.
Chris, I was hoping it was going to be longer than that. I'm going to have to reevaluate.
We have 2 questions with Adobe Connect from our viewers, because we've got 26 people online to respectful them. First question, advancement. As you've completed the experience in the MA and the MBA, advancement for yourself or any of your colleagues for career promotion. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is grading. How do they grade? So that would be ideal for the 3 of you to please address. From the student alumni perspective first about advancement, if that's okay, Angela?
Most of the people that I started with in the program, and I think we had 25 or 26 in our cohort, most of them advanced during the process and became senior managers. I'd say 10 to 12 of them switched jobs, right? That became a higher level. And myself, I went from working 22 years as a CPA in the food agribusiness, and now I'm a professor. So I made a pretty significant change. So it does happen. It opens all kinds of doors for sure from that perspective.
Yeah, I had the same experience in the MA Leadership. I personally didn't change my job in the last year, but it has certainly changed my relationship with my bosses, and I have a lot of bosses where I work. And it's really had a great effect on my relationship with my direct reports. But at least 7 or 8 in my cohort moved jobs, got promotions, so there is a lot of opportunity for that in this role.
I think we had the largest cohort, 43 people, and of the 43, 12 in terms of advancement and promotion, they went that route. From professors going into universities, colleges, nursing, and Ministry of Health, and promotion, of course, on the policing side.
Well, my favorite story is I was teaching the first online course, The Theories of Leadership. And, we'd finished week 1, and one of my students put onto the website. She said, "Well, after the first week, I now realize what's wrong with my boss, and I'm now looking for a new job." And she put that out to her cohort, and by the time she finished the course 8 weeks later, she had a new job, which was a promotion through the contact of the cohort.
And Angela, can you address question number 2 about grading, please, using your course as an example?
Grading. So I'm the first online course, and so as far as the grading goes, there's 2 individual assignments. So there's a paper on leadership, there's a reflection paper, there's a group presentation, and then there's a participation mark. And so I forget the participation is 30, first paper is 20, 25, 25, and 30. Grading is all done by me. I don't believe in bell curves, and I give out marks based on the amount of work that you put in and the product that you've given me. So I don't know if that direct is.
We're still talking, so we did get it all right.
Maybe I can also add a little bit to that as well. For those of you, and maybe many of you, who have not been in a lecture hall for a long time, you're thinking, wow, this is going to be kind of tough. It's been a while since I've had to do this. Very first course in the MBA is Management Communications, which helps you to write a paper. The very first course in the MA Leadership is Foundations of Leadership with Angelo, who actually teaches you how to write as well. And trust me, when you go through Angelo's course or Management Communications, at the end of that period, you will be very confident in terms of your capacity to communicate at the right level in an academic sense as well as a business sense. Because we're really there to help give you the skills that you're going to need to be successful in the program right from the very beginning.
If I may, Chuck, I mean, one of the things that I tell my students right at the very beginning is that part of my job is to set you up for success in the program. So we talk about leadership. We talk about how do you structure your week so that you can find the 20 to 25 hours that you need. And then we talk about one of the how to write an effective paper. So one of your assignments, the very first one is your practice essay. Okay, where I give you the formula according to me on how to put together an effective paper, and you hand it in, you get feedback right away. So in my particular course, you leave at the end of 7 days with all of your marks. Okay.
And you'll be teaching the MBA.
Yeah.
And to add to that, and that's 7 days, it's a lot of work. And I think you have to be mindful of that. It is a lot of work. We would meet for that 20 minutes, but on your own personal time, we did a lot of work. That residential week is very work intensive. But here's the kicker for me. In those 7 days, you can do it. We did it, and we looked at each other, and we said, wow, we couldn't believe it. There was a lot of afternoon sessions, a lot of late night sessions, but we got it done. It's a lot of hard work. You're really being stretched. And the final product, it's amazing what you come up with. And in terms of your writing skills and feeling comfortable in that particular setting, it works very, very well. At the end of the program, after 2 years, you will see the difference in your writing skills, communication, how you deal with people, how you talk to people.
Now, there was a question in the back, and there was a question over there, over the back.
Over there too.
You mentioned for the, I guess we're going focus for the progressive work experience. Like, what does that entail? Does that mean to have you climb up the corporate ladder?
Yeah, you've taken on some additional responsibilities within your career that is consistent with, broadening your experience and gaining more experience within your career. That's basically what we're looking for. But, if that's a concern for you, submit your experience and let's have a look at it. Okay? So there's a question here that you would ask.
Sorry, I don't think we're agenda today, but are you going to elaborate more in terms of the Sustainable Courses program?
No, but you can ask me any questions about it that you like. Sure.
I just want to know a little bit more about the program because I know like MBA, of course, there are like different views like, for that particular destination. But I still haven't heard about this title, like Sustainable Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So would like to know a little bit more.
Right, so it's going to look at sustainable commerce from a marketing perspective, as well as a business value perspective, as well as a governance perspective. And typically, there's the three-tiered bottom line that we talk about: societal responsibility, corporate responsibility, and fiscal responsibility, environmental responsibility. So the really is looking at business from that perspective in terms of how is it sustainable, how can you adjust and still make a profit because we're not anti-business, and be sustainable from those perspectives: profit, societal, corporate, environmental. So it's comprehensive in that sense. Is there a question over here?
Yes, I just want to ask a question about return on investment. It's a two-part question. The alumni investing $30,000, $40,000 into your education, looking at it hindsight, first of all, what would you encourage the assistant dean to change about the program that you went through? And second of all, do you believe that you've earned the return on the investment you made into your education?
That's a good question, and I think it's interesting that came up the information session that I went to, and it is something that I think you have to evaluate. Am I making $30,000 or $40,000 more than I was? No, but do I feel that I am contributing more to my job and being noticed more and being more confident in the way that I present in meetings and the way that I manage projects? Absolutely, and it's opened up doors for me that are outside of my workplace through contacts that I made through the MA Leadership program, getting more involved in Rotary Club and various things that I hadn't been involved in before. So it's really expanded my network, and I feel much more confident in my job and much more prepared to take on any projects that are thrown at me. So to me, the value is there, absolutely. What I would change, that's tough. I'm done the coursework now. I'm just doing the major research project, and I have to say that everything that I learned in this program, I have applied to my job to date. So there isn't really anything that jumps out. I'm happy to give you my contact details and follow up with you, but really nothing jumps out at me for a change.
The ROI question, yes, I think, but it's not dollar for dollar always, what you would think.
No.
I actually switched careers, right? I have 22 years in the private sector. Now I work in an academic institution, and I can do that for a lot longer now than I could in the private sector because the stress level is different. Right? I know, but and other things, it opens many doors, as you're saying. Now, right now, I'm actually working on a couple applications for PhDs at different institutions. Right? I would have never thought of that 10 years ago. Yeah. Why would but now I'm doing that, right? And as for change, they listen for sure because there's some things here tonight we talked about that my cohort suggested 3 years ago that they change, and they've changed it. So one of the ones is the management communications used to be in the second residential session, and we suggested we move it to the first one, and they listened to us.
That was your fault.
Yeah, well, we suggested free beer too, but I didn't see that one come out yet, so.
That's pretty big.
So they do listen and they do change it, for sure, so.
That's a very good question, and I'll try to answer it from two perspectives. And the first perspective to me is that, for me, education is key, and it's always been, it brings that sort of balancing feel that is just from my background, how I view the world, and from in terms of promotions and did a bang for the buck, absolutely. I see it in my colleagues who have taken the courses and in terms of they getting promoted. One of the things we talked about, you do at the end of the year get an income tax receipt. That gives you back something, 15%.
Yeah, but something, yeah.
But it gives you back something. And in terms of you bettering yourself, in terms of MA, then maybe an MBA, if the studies are correct, if the studies, we take it in face value, the studies correct, they have said that if you have a high school diploma, you make this much.
Right.
College diploma, BA, MA, PhD, MBA, whatever, how you want to take it. And it's true. You do see it. You do see it in the fact that you can position or transition yourself from one career to the other with an MA. Definitely.
Let me just, I'm going to ask if there's a question from the online. There's a question over here I'm going to get to, but let me just kind of add this little element to the, especially the ROI question. Imagine that you're studying with these three guys. Huge ROI. Because these folks really represent the student body. They love what they do. The energy and the enthusiasm in terms of what's being studied, what's happening online and in the residence room, I mean, you will catch fire from these guys. You know, it's not just a matter of checking a box off, oh, I want to do an MBA because it'll look good on my CV, it'll look great on my resume. You will actually get curious, you'll get excited, you'll get enthusiastic, you'll explore things that you never ever thought that you would explore. And part of that is because of a cohort that we will drive you. Is there a question online?
We're okay.
One back here.
Well, my question had to do with the 24-month period. Should something occur where you had to go on hiatus, what would happen?
You can take a semester off if you require a leave of absence. There are things that I believe that there's up to 3.
It's a consecutive up to 3 for an entire year.
Yeah.
And we've had people who have done it.
Yeah.
Quite successfully.
Yeah,
We've
well,
had
I'm just
people who have done
thinking, my husband has leukemia, he's in remission, but if something should change.
Yes, there's flexibility in that program.
Absolutely.
To deal with that. Absolutely.
And congratulations for being
Sure.
in remission.
So for example, on the residential week of the MA Leadership, what we do sometimes is we'll just throw an issue out into the middle of the floor, and you've got 25 different people from all different sectors, all different backgrounds and experiences, talking about what they think, their experiences, what's happened, and you come out not only, you go from being the stovepipe to having a global look at that particular issue. And if I may, there was one time where we had 2 health service individuals, and somebody threw their problem out on the floor, said, our organization's been working on this for 8 months and we can't figure it out, we can't crack it. And two people over, the lady said, yeah, we just did it, and this is how we made it work. So an organizational problem was solved in the span of like a 2-minute discussion and then a follow-up. So, it's all about, especially on my course, as I say, I tell my students, 80% of what you learn, you're going to be able to take back into your workspace right away. And added to that is going to be the global perspective of having people from all of these different backgrounds and all the different experience. Okay? All of that knowledge comes to play in the middle of the discussions.
And how does office hours work and the interaction between faculty and students? And how often could that occur?
In the online environment?
Yes.
That's done directly with the profs. They're done every day, pretty much.
Done online? Or
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
there an
And
opportunity?
they're checking their email. So I'd ask these folks.
I will say they're very, very available to you, and in fact, and I've said this so often, but the entire staff in this program are always available to you. I've never felt so supported. I mean, I did an MA at Waterloo, and I shouldn't, or at an unnamed university.
Sergeant Johnny.
Seriously, it's been night and day, and they're also available to you if you're in Guelph or in the neighborhood. I've had face-to-face meetings with them as well. They'll Skype, they'll do email, phone calls, whatever. Everyone here is committed to getting you through this, and that is, it's tangible, the feeling, not only amongst your cohort, but all of the faculty that are really supportive. It's a good environment.
And if I may add, it's your cohort too plays such a key role. They're the ones who will pull you along the way. They will lend you. They'll reach out and they'll help you if you don't understand something. And together, it becomes such a tight-knit group. Together, you basically approach the prof and you say, listen, we need to do this, we need to get this done, and it works very, very seamless. And I want to touch a bit about leadership because that's where I really came from in the background. And for us, it was very infectious, it was authentic to actually go in there and get things done. And for me as a leader, because I'm responsible for 230 people, it was great to have two things that came out from my course was having that difficult conversation with a staff who's not doing their job. That's one of the things that I learned. The second thing is about empowering people. Having your staff say, going to your office after you finish the course and you tell your staff, okay, you give me your feedback. How would you like things to run? If somehow there's a disconnect between how I see things, we'll probably have that conversation. But I'm going to allow my staff to manage and run the organization within certain parameters, of course. To run the organization. And that was so unique to them, that all of a sudden you have a boss now telling them, I want you to participate in making this organization successful.
God, I wish every manager took that course.
We have a question back here that yes.
Yeah, just a little bit different. Going back to like all of the coursework is available. Does that mean that all of like the lecture slides, readings, assignments are all posted at the start? And if you really wanted to in the last 2 weeks, do it all then?
I'll ask the students and alumni.
For me, yes, it was all there.
Okay.
And I want to touch something you asked earlier. A lot of my cohort did the 10 courses.
Okay.
And then once they go back into the organization, and of course this is for the professor to help out, a lot of the people decided, geez, I found a topic within my organization now that I want to go back and do the major research paper.
So you can kind of do both. Okay.
So I'll say from my perspective, I don't think it would be very feasible or advisable to try to do everything in 2 weeks.
No, and that's not what I'm getting at. I was just kind of curious to see like if everything was posted ahead of time so that you're very aware.
Everything's absolutely
Okay.
available, but what you find is, at least in my experience, is that it builds so that that 8-week program, the way you're reacting and responding to things by week 8 versus week 3 have been informed not only by the readings but by the discussions that you have online, which are really, really powerful. You are in a cohort with a lot of professionals, so you're really growing and learning throughout that 8-week period. But yes, it is certainly all there, so you can get ahead of it if you want to and that sort of thing. It's a lot of work though.
Yeah. So then is there a deadline for certain things throughout that 8 weeks? So you need to have completed this reading by said day and then
Yeah,
said day?
generally
Okay.
things are,
Okay.
profs are pretty good about making things due Sunday night at midnight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And discussion boards may be done, like you have to have all your discussion boards done by midnight or there's
Okay.
assignments due, so.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, typically you'll have discussions, like the professors on the online courses will expect at least 2 posts from you per week.
Okay.
So, I mean, but a lot of the assignment work, might fall toward the end. Each course and each professor is a little bit different.
Okay.
But there are certain expectations per week as far as posting on the online. So you couldn't just try to catch up because, I mean, you would have missed the windows. And then
Okay.
some of them, I think the windows closed.
Yeah, they close, the
They
professors
close.
close the window, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a person over here.
Yeah, two small questions. First is just to give you more familiar with the online way of learning. So the first one is you mentioned it takes about 20-25 hours on average of studying time. Does that include lectures or is lectures incremental to that? That's one. And number two is you guys talked a lot about some of the advantages you've experienced studying online. What are some of the challenges you face studying online versus an in-classroom setting?
I'll ask these
Okay.
folks here.
I'll jump on that. There is certainly challenges to online learning, and in fact, I was very resistant to the idea of online learning. I really enjoy learning in a classroom, and we've touched a little bit on that 1 week in residence, and it really is incredible how powerful that week is. You spend a week with these people, working night and day on projects. You get to know them really, really well. So the online element becomes much more personal, actually.
I'm going to insert one point, and then I'm going to go back to this panel to answer that question as well. One of the interesting things about online that's different from the classroom, when I'm teaching, I teach in the second year course in the MBA Leadership. One of the challenges, when I put a question out to the class, I'll get one or two or maybe three people that will comment. And you'll notice during the week that there are more people, there are some folks that are more willing to comment than are others. Online, that disappears. Everybody comments because they don't feel this social embarrassment about commenting, and they're required to do so. So in fact, what's interesting online is you're actually getting more information and more interaction than you do in person. I mean, paradoxical as that might seem, it actually happens. Yeah.
If I could just give you, just to sort of back up Chuck's comment there. So when I was teaching the online course, my requirement was each student had to post at least twice for the week. And so the window opened on Sunday night at midnight, and so I had 21 students, so I was looking for 42 posts. By Wednesday morning, I had 140. And so I gave them the rest of the week off.
Sorry, when you say post, you mean like responding
To comments that have been put forward in the discussion. So somebody put out a discussion saying, I thought that this was very powerful in the reading, and then people building onto it saying, this is what I took away from it, this is what I took away from it. Well, what about this perspective on it? And as I said, by Wednesday morning I had 140, and I said, stop, take the rest of the week off. Okay.
And that's something in our group, it happened again, being a big cohort, 43 people. At one point, we agreed that maybe 4 or 5 would probably be best, instead of going to 7, 8, 10, because again, it could get really way out there in terms of the comments, whatever. And I mean, excellent comments, whatever, but again, you had readings to do, assignments, do whatever, and you couldn't keep sustained. It's not sustainable. And so.
And in your traditional classroom, that is seldom a concern.
Yeah.
Right? It's the exact opposite.
One of the things, and we could say about online learning, is something, again, in that whole cohort, you are going to have individuals who are not going to pull your weights in assignment. Let's be frank. We're not going to. Let's have that conversation. You're not going to have people, and that is something where, again, what we building was we made sure we've had certain parameters, and we established certain rules going into groups. If an assignment is due on a particular time, and you've been tasked with a certain topic, this needs to be done on Tuesday at this particular time, and who's ever managing that will basically reach out to those individuals, whatever. We have people who went on March break, and it wasn't an issue because through Skype and putting stuff in Dropbox, all those little things, it worked out very, very well. But I think we always run into that where, again, you have to set the parameters, and that's part of being self-learning. You have to put the parameters and make sure everything works within you.
Other questions? Yes.
For the 30 people in each cohort, how many applications do you get?
It varies. I would have to look at Patty, because we also have Patty Lago and Sue-Ann Martin-Raj here, who are part of the extraordinary staff in executive programs in terms of what the ratio is for applications.
So because we offer the 3 entry points and we have an application deadline date, on average we would typically have for May, we're probably going to approximate, and it will change every year, but just to give you an approximate number, probably close to about 50, 52 applications. And it's a first come, first served rolling basis, so as soon as the application is complete, we review it by 2 formal committees, and then it takes on average about 3 to 6 weeks before feedback is granted.
Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, just a little question over there. I wasn't sure I got the clear answer, or maybe I missed it. The 20 to 25 hours a week, that was your study time. And what is the coursework or lecture?
The whole thing was basically 20 to 25 hours a week.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things that you'll find is that you work with your groups, particularly in the MBA program for sure. You start to rely on your group members for different strengths, right? So I'm an accountant, so when the accounting component came up, I basically helped a bunch of people through the accounting, right? And when marketing came up, somebody else who was an expert in marketing, right? And because you're in a group and you all have jobs and everybody has families, there's a lot of working together and helping, right? So some weeks, somebody's got a deadline or an audit, so you may not be able to give the 20 hours a week that you would normally give, so you give a little less, and another group member picks up the slack, and the next week you've got more time, so you pick up a little bit more. So that was a huge advantage of that, right? And having the residential made that possible because you knew everybody, right? It wasn't just some anonymous guy or person who was online that you
same thing with a group. If you're doing a major paper, I know I used to do. I would pool everything together. So who would be doing the introduction? Who would be doing on this particular part of the paper? Bring it all together. Send it to me. I'll put it all together. Make sure everything's fine. We'll get someone who will proofread it after I'm done with it, and then we send it out to the group to take a final look at it. See if they're comfortable with your comments. They didn't feel that they're being slighted. Some of the research that they put in wasn't taken out. We put it together. Make sure by 11:59 on Sunday, it's in the Dropbox. It's in the Dropbox.
Yes.
Other than the amazing structure of the MBA program, which is my interest, how is it possible for someone to move on past the MBA onto the PhD, or is there something that would be required more?
A couple of yes, it is. Like again, you have to apply to institutions. It's a whole process. It's a lot. Let me tell you, it's a lot of work. It's a very interesting process, right? One of the things I learned, I don't know if this is still true. You can verify this, John. When you get an MBA from University of Guelph, it's an actual MBA. It's not an executive MBA. So there's a difference. It's approved by the Graduate Council of Ontario or whatever, right? So it's not an executive MBA. So it counts much more towards any further education.
And I'm assuming it's accredited by the ACC, whatever the...
Yeah, the Ontario Council of, yeah.
And who's looking at the leadership?
Not the ACC, the thing that you're talking about. That's an accreditation that we're
For business
pursuing.
schools, for
Yeah.
likes of that.
international,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we have an
Accredited by the
accreditation,
province.
yeah, by the institution.
Yeah.
We're applying for that. It's a huge process, by the way.
Yeah, we're in
Huge.
the- we're in the
Out of all
good
business
process.
schools, not everybody's going after that. A lot of
Who's
time
looking
and
at the
money.
MA leadership? Good.
Yes.
From course to course, do you typically change your groups? Or
Yes.
you do?
No, it's not, you don't get to pick your groups usually. Depends on the professor, but generally it's...
And it makes sense because, again, if you have a lot of nurses, we had a lot of nurses in my cohort, a lot of police. I didn't want to be, again, in that kind of silo, the same sort of thinking. I wanted to be outside of the box and get a different perspective, how we would handle, again, a difficult employee, how we would handle a certain particular situation. I wanted to get a different perspective of how we can deal it and take little things and put it into my toolbox that fits for me. I'm comfortable with it. So it worked well.
The diversity in the student groups is really impressive. It's really very interesting. And I've told the story many times. I taught a course, I think a couple years ago, and one fellow was sitting in one spot, and he was a deep undercover police officer. He looked kind of like a biker gang member or something, sitting beside a captain from the Salvation Army. And they were discussing leadership models, and it was fascinating, the different perspectives that they shared. It was very, very interesting.
Well, one of the things you do, though, is when you're in the MBA program, there's certain courses you stick with your stream, right? So I was in the agribusiness, marketing crossed over, where you work with hospitality students, but not all of them cross over. Like managing price risk really deals with commodities and trading and derivatives, and Chicago Board of Trade and hospitality students are really interested in that. Right? So you get so you do get that where you're with your cohort, your specific specialization certain times.
Okay, I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go there.
Just from hearing of other people's experience, they said to me the most powerful part was, I think, in year 2, where you can get some psychological assessment.
You're looking at them.
But
I failed that.
But 3 of the people I've spoken to at Field Regional Police said that for them was the best takeaway.
Did anybody pay you to say that?
No, but they said it was tough. I guess I don't quite know what's involved, but they said, wow, it was.
That's in the personal skills
Personal
self-assessment
thing,
course that's taught by a psychologist.
And it's a week long, right?
Yeah. It's me. I'm the psychologist. Yes, and we do an assessment. There is an assessment component, and there's a lot of feedback during that week. I guess both Court and Chris have been in that course and have them comment on that. But it's not always pretty, but it's very, very informative. Absolutely. Interesting, your perspectives.
It is interesting. I will say that week stands out as one of the most powerful weeks of the program, and this isn't taking away from Chuck, who's a great instructor, but a lot of the power comes out of what you discover about yourself during that week, and really how you connect with those people. there is some, I don't want to say too much, but there are some things that challenge you both physically and psychologically that week. And how you support your fellow leadership cohort in that week is really, I found it so emotionally powerful. It was an incredible week. So, and Chuck's a good instructor. He drove me here. I gotta.
Maybe a long ride home.
Yeah.
For me, it was 2 courses. The first one, the introduction course to leadership, amazing, because you actually talk about leadership and what it means to you and to your group. Second one was, of course, with Chuck. In terms of, for me, my big takeaway was the ability to lead, most importantly, to follow, and trusting your people, to make the right decision. And this is, and I won't take away from it because there's a lot to learn and doing certain things. The physical part too, trusting people as you go up a wall blindfolded, and when they tell you go left, go right, trusting them all the way to being a good follower.
We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
We don't want to give it all away. It's a little mystery. Other questions?
Nope, okay.
I have one. Why Guelph?
Oh, for me, because I was in the agribusiness, agri-food business, and it's one of the premier universities in the country for agri-food business, so it made sense. And you also gain a lot of networking for the industry, right? You meet some of the, first of all, your cohorts come from a wide variety of backgrounds, including, we had a vet in our class that ran a dairy cheese factory and was a vet in California outside of Napa Valley, which is very interesting. We had another guy who was an economic development officer from British Columbia. So you had a wide, diverse range, and the networking is phenomenal, and the professors are, for agribusiness and for hospitality too, are top-notch. They're the best in the industry. That's why they're at the University of Guelph, right? University of Guelph gets lots of research money because it gets lots of agricultural things go on from the Ministry of Agriculture, so there's lots of connections that way, for sure.
I work at University of Guelph, but interestingly, I think it was working at University of Guelph that I realized that I needed to hone my leadership skills. I'd worked in the private sector for 25 years before I came to University of Guelph, and there, when someone's not performing, you fire them, or those that are performing, you give them a promotion. And suddenly, working in the public sector, I recognized that I needed more skills in order to actually motivate people who are in 3 different unions and have been there for 27 years and all that sort of thing, to get them to share my vision and get behind what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And I realized I didn't have those skills. I did look at a variety of programs, but the University of Guelph has this really incredible leadership program that had what I understood to be the skills that I needed to acquire. And I'm really glad I made that choice. It was a good choice for me.
I came through the Humber Guelph program. Has anybody been to the Guelph area? Okay. I've never been, but I wanted something close enough because I lived in Toronto that if I needed to get something done, I would have probably 45 an hour to get to the university. And I went in May, and it was just one of those perfect days. Sun, the road was just such a beautiful drive. And I fell in love. I fell in love with the campus and the community. And if anybody, and I go down, I try to get down there probably every 2 months. And I truly love Guelph, the city, the university, and most importantly, I think when I wrote my initial paper, the staff, they were so welcoming, you know what I mean? And Patty, Ms. Maharaj, again, if you ever get an opportunity to meet these ladies, amazing. The way, again, any questions that you have, accommodation, getting you to the course, getting you to your class, it was just amazing. I fell in love with the place.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just a comment, the campus is outstanding. Although it was chartered in 1964, I think the agri-college has been around for 125 years. So some of the buildings, what?
1872.
1872. So some of the buildings are 120 years old. It's
Yeah.
just a phenomenal place to go.
Yeah, I think my office is in there.
Yeah.
I have a question about student resources available for the online students as opposed to those who are actually based on the campus. Is there any big variance in the number of or level of resources available? Or
No, you have access, you get, they link you into the library, you can do all your research stuff and all your paper and I think you can go in 24/7. Just go in here and get whatever book you need and read it online.
And all the academic journals are digital,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to, you really don't have to be at the campus really anymore.
My office is in the library. I don't think anyone takes out any paper anymore. Everything's done electronically, so I think that is you share that experience with the students that are there.
So not just library resources like career internships, those sort of areas, or student-led resources.
I think Patty could answer that better.
So right now, to be honest with you, there's not any career services. I mean, what we do is we attempt to develop chapters for our alumni and do alumni events, networking to carry on in that capacity. I think there's always room for improvement, to be quite honest with you. Because everybody's working full-time doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy. Obviously, they wouldn't be investing 2 years of their life or $40,000 or $30,000 to enhance their career aspirations.
Exactly.
So I think that career support would obviously have to draw from our existing in-progress student and our alumni network. And I think that's an area for developmental for the assistant dean to support overseeing executive programs.
That's right. And I think that there's a way that we can improve that. But I think you also find the network that you establish within the program is pretty powerful. It's like 3 weeks ago, there was an alumni event. I was talking to a person who was unhappy in their job. I said, I know somebody else in that industry. Why don't I pass your email on to them? They got hired.
Yeah.
I still probably
It's
talk
really
to 7 or 8 of my who work regular. So a couple of them work here now, a couple of them I just talked about.
Question for the panel, and this may have been addressed because I was late coming in, so apologies if you have to repeat. But I think three panel members here were working while we were taking the MA and the MBA courses. I guess question for everyone, maybe you can share some examples of what did you do to change your schedule to make this work for you?
I think it's time management. Like I said, in the hockey arena, I've been to it. I've seen all the practices, and the practice is an hour and a half. So again, I would go to the adjacent library and make it work for me. I would drop the kid off, make sure the skates are done up, and away I go. And I would do that, make it work. On vacation, you say, okay, a half an hour just to do that while on vacation. When you come home, we do it. You still have your routine, shovel the snow, do whatever you need to do. And again, before 12 o'clock at night, you're going forward an hour, maybe around 10 or 10:30 whenever the kids are done, and you go in, you make it work, and it was quite interesting. What we talk about afterwards is that we were so good with time management that when the course ended, we said, whoa, all this time, because we made it was tight schedule, we worked tight as a group, we really pulled each other and supported each other. And all of a sudden now, I think it's a year now that I've graduated, I'm thinking, I have so much time on my hands.
It sounds very flexible.
Very flexible.
And Chris is right, you find those spots, everybody's Wi-Fi everywhere now, right? So you can sit down for half an hour. And one of the things now, all the learning platforms that we use, I think Guelph uses Learn and Humber uses Blackboard, they're all connected to mobile devices. So you can have it on your iPhone, and you can look at stuff right there wherever you are, right? And what I found was I took a couple hours every night and did some work from 9 to 11 or 9 to 11:30, and then on the weekend you took a whole day and said, you know what, sort of do it Saturday or sort of do it Sunday. You make it work, you fit it in, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, it sounds like I had a very similar system. I like to do 2.5 to 3 hours each night, and I like to take a block of time on both Saturday and Sunday. I mean, if there was something that we had scheduled to do on the Sunday, then I'll work all day Saturday. But I always like to, the weekends were great because it's uninterrupted time. So I did, to the best of my ability, try not to schedule very many things over the weekend. That was really key time for me. But, a few hours a night and your weekends, year and a half is gone before you know it.
So one of the periods during the The other part of the period is, how do you set yourself up for success in the program? So we talk about different strategies that have come back from students, how to sort of structure your week, how to structure your day, how to start thinking about things ahead of time, so that when you hit your first residential, or you hit your first online course, you've already got a bunch of strategies that you can figure out which works best for you. So that's one of the discussions we have up front before you even hit the first online course.
And I think one of the things I learned too is how to read academic journals. Like at first you think you got to read the whole thing, and you're like, oh my god, this is never gonna end. And then you learn how to read them and more effectively. Let's call it that, right?
It's a secret we're not going to share.
Yeah.
And it may be as simple as waking up half an hour early or going to bed. It's that simple. And saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. I had people, again, during their lunch breaks, that's what they did. They had their tablets or their iPad, and they worked on their assignments. Yeah. You'll find a way. You always do.
Just one thing I think to consider too is try to find a place in your home that you can establish a work area with a desk and a bit of quiet space that the rest of your family recognizes that when you're there, that's your time. You know?
I'm running out of spots.
Markers on the carpet.
Mine was in front of the TV, but it was.
Yes.
Question, for the students that enter the MA and the MBA programs, what is the average graduation rate?
Average graduation rate.
Well, because you have up to 4 years to complete the designation, and because we do support a leave of absence, I mean, not everybody may graduate at the same time with their cohort, but eventually the majority of people do complete.
Yeah.
The only time that we do not have a completion if there's a withdrawal is usually because of financing or severe health issues, unfortunately, for a loved one usually.
Just anecdotally, we had, I think, 25, and I know 23 of us graduated this year. So.
And the other two would probably eventually.
Yeah, eventually, right? The one,
Yeah.
one I know hasn't finished yet, but that's his choice.
And the same with us, 43, and I think 2 were 43.
We're there to support you. We're there to help you. But you need to communicate with us what's happening in your life and with your instructors.
Other questions? Anything from yes?
One more question, I promise.
That's all right. That's amazing.
On financing and fees, I noticed it says fees are subject to change without notice, etc. Over the last couple of years, have you seen a large increase in fees? Like some universities, not Guelph, but
no.
No, it was 38,000 for a long time before we bumped it up to around 42.
And the installments, is it on a monthly basis, semester
No,
basis?
it's it's May, and then September and January, and then for the MBA there's 6, and the MA there's 5.
Okay.
And once you enter the program, that $42,000 amount, that's just a fixed rate that's just
All the way
spread
through
out
until you
to
confer your degree.
They make it manageable. Fees really do. Really support the student that way.
Other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming out. I enjoyed the conversation, and I enjoyed the questions, and I really want to thank you, and I really want to thank the panel who basically donated their time tonight to answer your questions. I really appreciate it, and I hope I'll see you in the lecture hall. Good night.